I would say that Western society is actually much more superstitious in that people believe in gods and devils and angels and all the rest of it, whereas here it seems much more practical. That being said, then there's the fantasy part of Japanese culture also definitely exists.
The Eerie Ghost is very cultural to Asia, but it is very effective because the ghosts are incredibly scary looking, and it just was something that when they started appearing in US films, it scared the audience.
We're not really doing a lot of special effects work. It's mostly practical stuff. So we have, we have our Megumi Okina, who is on set when we're doing all of the ghost work. So I actually like that because it's much easier for us as actors to work with as opposed to green screens and big set pieces like that. And yeah, I mean, the situation is genuinely frightening, and I hope I would be genuinely frightened because I'm caught on camera.
Well, when I watch horror movies, I like to be scared. I want to have that feeling of dread as I'm watching it. The jump scares in certain horror movies aren't as appealing to me as the ones that where you feel like something terrible is going to happen, you're expecting it. It's the anxiousness that you feel that makes me like a horror movie. It's somewhat like a thrill ride, like when you're riding a roller coaster. As you're going up the hill, you hear the click, 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 and you know that you're going to be scared going down. It's like that anticipation is part of the scares that I like most.
Where are you? Where are you?
I like that the film says something about an energetic or an emotion being able to kind of make itself heard and finding a way to make itself heard, and I kind of believe in that. I think that sort of makes sense to me, that if things are really strong and things are really potent, they'll find a way to materialize and they'll find a way to kind of give us messages. And I think it's about listening to your instincts. Like my character comes to, through the realm of spirit photography, listen to her instincts on a whole range of things, which I don't want to give away.
The first major thing that Ochiai really wanted to get across is just what spirit photography means inside of Japanese culture. This is actually an accepted and well-known, whereas in the West I don't think this is really something that's at the fore of people's mind. We have our own sort of urban myths and legends, but it's a really particular part of the culture here and is widely known. I think anybody Japanese would understand what it is that we're talking about.
一つは文化です。遊びですね。もう一つは宗教的な、象徴だと思います。人間にはまだ理解のできないもの。
It's a weird thing because in Asian cultures you can be haunted by people or spirits that are still living, and I think that's an idea that Americans are not terribly familiar with. So we incorporate a little bit of those ideas into this project.
And then also there's a different relationship. In the West, when we talk about ghosts, we think about sort of ephemeral spirits that float and pop up in poltergeisty sort of ways. But here it's a much more physical presence. Thus our Megumi is actually a woman who appears in her full corporeal form.
Axel. isn't funny anymore. Turn on the lights.
Hello?
Who's there?
So basically, regardless of what genre, you know, a film happens to be, I mean, I just really think that, you know, American storytellers, American movie makers, and American audiences are really looking to this part of the world for inspiration, quite frankly. And it's for me, though I may not be a fan of horror movies, it's quite frankly, you know, it's a bit of an honor to take part in that tradition.
There's a lot of concepts in the original Time movie that are hard to understand for an American audience, probably. And we simply tried to make the parts that were confusing to Americans simple to understand for the Americans, and took out the stuff that only worked for the Thai. For instance, there's a lot of religious stuff that needed clarification, and a lot of understanding about the way ghosts work in the different cultures. It needs to be clarified and explained for the Americans. And what they, you know, the Thai people have whole bunches of ghost magazines and things like this in their own cities and in newsstands and stuff. So Americans aren't used to that. We had to explain that a little bit.
This is a particularly popular vein, it seems, in Japanese filmmaking, and they have a very good sensibility for making these sort of very eerie. They're not big horror slasher movies. They're much more, in their way, they're more cerebral, but they build tension through tone and mood and time. And I think, you know, Guan and Ringu were good examples of that. And I think actually, you know, the Ring, when it came across, is a very good example of how that can translate into a Western film as well.
Whenever the story feels fresh, and it scares me because I'm one of the toughest judges of horror, but if a movie can scare me, that's when I believe that the remake of a movie can actually scare the wider audience. Well, we had a very good experience working in Japan with The Grudge, and this movie had a very logical fit to be placed in Japan in terms of the storyline of what we came up with. So we ended up shooting in Japan because it was the right place for the movie.
I think mostly I just assume every day when I'm walking out of the door that I'm a brute in a very polite culture. So I just assume I'm stepping on everybody's toes, and when I do something really wrong, they'll just let me know. But it is, I mean, there's a huge amount of cultural difference between Western culture and Japanese culture, so it's been a learning experience.
おはようございます。劇場でお待ちしております。
So this has been extraordinary. I mean, it's so fast-paced, it's kind of outrageous. And the Japanese people are wonderful. Like, they're so considerate and courteous and hard-working. Mount Fuji is it's picturesque, it's extraordinary, and it's enormous. Like, it's a physically kind of overwhelming thing. And the cabin was sort of really isolated and just really kind of empty. I've been carrying around this really kind of empty feeling while I've been shooting this film, which is sort of interesting. I think that's right. I think my character feels like she's, you know, she can't exactly pinpoint what's wrong.
Rachel's character, rather, brings somebody from the outside who has to learn about this culture, so she is the fish out of water. She's the eyes through which the audience sees this movie. So yeah, I don't think I wouldn't say it's exclusive to Japan because we put that character here who is learning as the audience hopefully is learning.
What do you think about Japan as a location for this movie?
It's great. It's perfect. It's a crazy town. It's sort of like Bizarro, New York, where everything is just a little bit different. Everything makes you a little bit slightly uncomfortable. They have women and old ladies in uniforms vacuuming the subway. That's not something you would see in New York, where I come from. So I think it's a perfect setting for a movie where the main character is a little bit out of place and feels surrounded by chaos and doesn't understand the situation she's been thrown into. So, and there's a lot of exciting things. The American audiences don't see a lot of behind the scenes of what's going on in Tokyo, so we can have a lot of fun with that. And I think we've done a good job capturing some of the spirit and the strangeness of the place and the culture.
Well, the filming in Tokyo, once you get on the set, it's a movie set, so that makes it easier because obviously there's a language barrier and I don't really speak Japanese, so that makes it a little bit tricky at times. But thankfully here, once we're in our environment, it's pretty simple. The set is a set is a set.
Making a movie, honestly, it doesn't matter where you are, you're still making a movie. You still set up the shots the same, you still, roll sound and camera and everything. So the movie is a movie, no matter where you are. The crew is a little different. There's quite a few of them. They are all standing around, and as soon as they say action, the whole crew drops to the ground because they're trying to get out of our eye line. But I'm used to having, a big crew standing around, all looking at you. So that's kind of different.
Action, quarter speed. Cut! Cut!
いや、日本の映画ではよくカツラをしてすね毛を染めたり、もっと派手にメイクをしてオカマの宝石強盗犯の役とかアクションしながらというのも何度もやってるので、セーラー服を着てオートバイで転倒したりはよくやる仕事なので、決して珍しいことではない。
A Japanese director or a director that doesn't actually speak your language, which you would think would be an absolute nightmare for an actor, because of course there's that really basic thing that he can't make a judgment on what I'm saying because he doesn't speak English. But it's actually been quite intriguing the way he can really make an interesting assessment about a scene when he watches it, because he has a kind of instinctual emotional response, which there are certain, universal truths to the human experience, I think. So I don't really see that the language barrier has been that much of an issue. Of course, he's got a very good interpreter anyway. But it's been really neat, letting him direct a scene from an emotional standpoint and directing it instinctually rather than being caught up with language.
We have this angel of a woman on set named Chiho, who is our translator between the actors and the director. So everything goes through her, and she's a miracle because she's able to work in both languages simultaneously and able to take our sometimes slightly flighty actor talk and translate it into director talk and then translate whatever he's backing to us. So it's worked out fairly well, I think.
Well, my job is to really translate, but we're dealing with such a creative things so that, it's not just business talk. It's not just numbers or anything. It's all about what they're imagining and direction and acting. So, dealing with somebody's imagination and creativity is just really hard to translate.
Oh, and later on, we'll add a sound effect of those foreign notes.
So if you can perform like you're hearing something that's kind of annoying you.
Sure.
だから今ジェーンとしてはその立尾から心霊写真の
Annoying me?
音が耳障りなんですよね。
耳障りというのは気持ちの中で今立尾の話を聞いて心霊写真のことを考えているジェーンにとってすごく耳
Yes, because you're thinking about you're processing all this information that you were told by Rizzo.
The Ghost magazine.
Yeah, and all this like little phone noise. I don't know, you don't think?
心乱される
Yeah, but I also want to use this as something a little bit transitional in terms of I've just like plotted out in my
Well, it's
head.
not
I'm
like
walking across.
annoying that much. It's like it's just bothering because you want to concentrate, but this noise is not really letting you concentrate.
Right. Okay. Cool.
I never try to be on anybody's side. I want to be fair, but you know, I just want to get their passions out too. Whenever they feel like they have to say something, I really want to get the right message to the directors, and I just try my best. But sometimes we just have to argue, but we always come up with something that's really creative and great.
Little details lost in translation. Yeah.
Okay, well, things are changing minute by minute. So we're going to get you coming down the stairs.
It's more like lost in Japanese.
I'm sorry?
It's more like lost in Japanese.
I've been there. It's fun.
Sorry, excuse me. Could you show me how to get to? I'm looking for a.
Basically ripping Jane out of everything that's comfortable, placing her in the other world, halfway across the world, and forcing her to learn as all of these possibly explainable but slightly eerie experiences are happening to her until it becomes impossible for it to be anything else. And that's the journey for the audience too, of like, what is this that we're seeing? Why are we seeing all these things? And what does this mean? And then it sort of all reveals itself at the end.
この作品に参加したごめんなさい、この作品に参加した、動機ですけど、この映画はホラーです、基本的には。でもただその幽霊が出てくる脅かすだけのホラーではなくて、二転三転するものすごくストーリー展開、特に内面的な、心模様も変わっていくような、展開があって、スリリングなサスペンスでもある、でスリラーでもある、でなおかつそのショッカーなホラーの要素もあるというところのいろんな要素を含めて人間ドラマでもあるし、それにとても興味が惹かれました。まずオリジナルのタイ映画のシャッターはとてもよくできた映画だと思ってものすごく面白く見ました。で僕個人的にはその幽霊が出る映画って実は苦手で、僕自身も幽霊が嫌いなんですけど、この映画はただ幽霊が出るだけではなくて、ものすごく二転三転するミステリーとしてものすごく成立している、とても楽しめた映画です。で、よってこのタイ映画のオリジナルはものすごく尊敬して、それに敬意を払いながらなるべくその基本を変えないように映画を作るべきだと思いました。例えばあるシーンではカット割りを似せて撮ったシーンすらあるぐらいオリジナルに即したいと思ってました。ただ今回設定が違うので、アメリカ人のカップルが日本に来たという設定、あるいは彼が原作ではちょっとアマチュアなカメラマンなのが今回はプロのカメラマンである、ということから、多少の修正を余儀なくはされましたけど、基本的にはタイのオリジナルに即して作ったつもりです。ただし、オリジナルとこのシャッターと両方見る人もいると思いますので、ショッカーなシーンはちょっと変えてあります。それと第一義にはやっぱりこれはアメリカでも公開される映画ということで、アメリカ人にも理解されるような、ちょっと今 ネタがバレてしまうので詳しいことは言えませんが、修正点はいくつかありますが、基本的には原作に即した映画作りをしたつもりです。日本のホラーには黒い髪の女性が多く登場するんですけど、これはもう一つの文化になっていて、もう江戸時代に遡る頃に出来上がった怪談が元になっていると思います。でこれを日本人だったら誰も知っていることで、当時はまだ日本でも女性のその地位が低かった。で日本の女性はさらに黒い長い髪をものすごく大切にしていた。でその人たちを虐待するようなことを起こしたことによって、その女性たちが幽霊亡霊となって現れて、その罪を犯した人たちに、呪いをかけるというかいう話がいくつもあるんですね。でそのために潜在的に日本人は長い黒髪の女性が立っているだけで、怖いというホラーの世界の中では怖いという潜在的にも持っている意識があります。でそのためには日本ではそれ今の流行ではなくて、ずっと脈々と続く恐怖のビジュアルであるということですね。だから日本でもね日本でも今では黒い長い髪に白い顔っていうのはもうちょっと縮小気味になっていて、ホラー映画としては今はちょっとブームは去ってるんですけど、確かに。でも多分おそらくまた何年後かの周期には必ず出てくる。あるいは日本でもインターネットなんかで心霊写真やなんかはすごく多いんですけど、ここにはずっと登場し続けるキャラクターであると思いますね。だからもう一つ別の話をすると、日本の幽霊っていうのはただそこに、登場して現れるだけで、その呪いの対象の人に首絞めたりとか走ってきたりとか物投げたりとか、こっちでいうポルターガイスト現象みたいなことは一切起こさないんですね。ただそこに、自分の中でもって罪の意識を持っている人たちの前にただ現れるだけで、もう現れて自分の姿を見せるだけでもういわば復讐というか呪いというのはもう達成しているんですね。だからむしろその罪を犯した人の心の中に見えてる姿とも取れるし、本当にそこに幽霊が存在しているとも言えるし、ものすごくそういう意味じゃこっちの幽霊とはちょっと違う、怪物ではなくて、ただその根性に今のこの世の中にそういう恨みの気持ちを残した姿がそこにビジュアルとして現れるっていう存在が日本の幽霊なんですね。心霊写真というのは人間がカメラを発明した時からもう存在していて、霊の存在を信じてた人も信じてない人もその写真を見てしまった時からは霊の存在をもう信じざるを得なくなってしまったというすごいものだと思います。で心霊写真というのは、なぜ要するに幽霊がもう天国に昇天してしまえばいいのになぜここにいるかということを示すために現れるものと言われています。だからつまりその写真に写っている人あるいは場所、ものかもしれないに全て関係する何かのそのサインを与えているような、ものです。その幽霊がそのカメラの前に現れて何かを伝えたいために出てきている。つまり無駄に映っているものではない、というものだと思います。もう一つ別の話として僕が知ってる人でやっぱり幽霊が見えるという人がいるんですけど、何人かいるんですが、幽霊というのは本当にどこにでもいるもんだということです。ただその幽霊が悪いことをするかしないかっていうことなんですけど、ただあえてカメラの前に必ずしも映るわけじゃない。でそれをわざわざ映ろうとしているということはやっぱりそういう何かメッセージを伝えに来てるんだというふうに僕は思います。心霊写真 僕が心霊写真を信じるかどうかですが、それは心霊写真を僕が撮った写真の中に現れた幽霊が現れたことはないので、本当の意味では分かりません。ただし、かつてこのアメリカに取材でその時は来たんですけど、いろんなオプションの面白いオプショナルなツアーを取材してて、その中にニューヨークでもって殺人現場をウォーキングツアーで案内してくれる、ツアーがあったんですけど、セントラルパークの中でもって恋人同士だったのに、その男性の方が女性を木に叩きつけて殺してしまった、結婚間近だったのにそんな事件があって、そういう話を聞いたんですが、その時の女性の幽霊なのか、もしくは、シカゴに行った時にやっぱりゴーストハンティングツアーっていうのがあって、で、そこは戦争中は病院だった建物で今はディスコになっているところで、夜になるとすごく大きなトイレなんですけど、そこに女性用トイレの女性が髪を溶かしていると、その鏡越しに血だらけの女の人が立つっていう幽霊の話があって、そのどっちかの女性の幽霊、その撮影をして帰ってきて日本に着いて、僕はそのテープをアシスタントディレクターに渡して、僕はその日は帰って次の日から編集だったんですけど、彼がある人と会ってくると言って帰ってきた時に青ざめて帰ってきたんですね。で、その彼曰く実はちょっと幽霊が見える人に会ったらしいんですけど、そのアシスタントディレクターがあなたの周辺でちょっと背が高くて眼鏡かけてる人いないか、最近その人外国から帰ってきたんじゃないかって言われたらしくて、で、そういう人いますけどって言ったら、その時についてきた幽霊が今あなたの方が霊感強いからあなたの背中に立ってるって言われたらしいんですよね。